Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, as you may know or may not know, I own a BMW G310 GS. Now, that is a bike that wasn't without its flaws. As is any bike, there's no such thing as a perfect motorcycle. Now, the major issue with that bike was the clutch. The problem with the clutch is that when the bike is at low speed or low revs, then the bike tended to stall. The other issue that they had was with the bouncing headlight. So when you're riding along, the headlight bounces and it can be very distracting for oncoming traffic. They've also had a problem with the kickstand that broke off at some point, but they've now done that on a recall, that they've now reinforced the kickstand, so that's no longer an issue. Now, I have to admit that these things, I knew about that when I bought the motorcycle, and I've been riding my bike for about 2 years now, and I hardly ever stall the bike anymore because I'm used to it. I'm used to the clutch. I know what to expect. And for me, it's not such a big deal. Yes, when it gets technical, you have to rev a bike a bit more, and it can be a bit of a problem, but you know what? You tend to get used to it. The other issue with the bouncing headlight doesn't bother me at all because I never ride at night. Unless there's a critical emergency, I'm not a person that would like to ride at night. The kickstand on my bike was resolved when I bought it. It was already part of the recall. But last year BMW launched this particular model. It's the upgrade for the G310 GS. Now my question is it worth getting this bike and selling my old bike? So I asked BMW if I could use the bike for a week or so just to get the feel for it, and here is my thoughts. First of all, they have done a superb job with the new paint schemes. The bike comes in fantastic new paint schemes. This particular one is the rally scheme. It looks beautiful, but they've also got a 40 years of GS version, which is black with yellow accent, and that looks really, really funky. As you will notice, they've updated the headlamp. It's now an LED unit. It's got integrated daytime running lights, so that's brand new. Plus, because they've redesigned that whole light cluster, they managed to secure it more firmly, so the bouncing headlight is now a thing of the past. BMW have also introduced LED indicators, and they look really funky with that smoked screen. They really look good, and I'm tempted to fit those to my bike as well. Other than that, there's been a slight cosmetic change on the switch gear. They've done away with the ABS button, which I'll get to in a while. But the major improvement on this bike has been the throttle and the clutch. They have changed the throttle to not be a cable actuated throttle anymore. It's now an electronic throttle, and that together with a brand new clutch makes the world of difference on this motorcycle. BMW describes the clutch as self-boosting and anti-hopping, whatever that means. It just means that the riding experience on this bike is just so much better. There's never a fear for me that I'll stall the bike anymore. In fact, I can actually, when I'm stationary on a flat surface, I can pull away without touching the throttle. The engine revs automatically climbs when you release the clutch, and that just works superbly. I've never stalled this bike in the week that I've been riding it. It's just so much better. Other than that, the motorcycle stayed exactly the same. I think BMW missed a trick because they have now got an electronic throttle. Why not give me traction control? That's available on the KTMs. On this, it would have been a small software update to give this bike at least some form of traction control, and together with the ABS, then you are in a far better space. Speaking of ABS, I do a lot of traveling on gravel roads with my motorcycle, and it has an ABS off button on the handlebars. That means I can switch off the ABS on my rear brakes, and when you're riding on gravel roads, that's very important. And I think it's an omission from BMW to take away my ABS. But then again, this bike was never intended to be a hectic off-road adventure motorcycle. It is branded as an urban adventurer. It's sort of a commuter. But if you want to stick a GS badge on a BMW, then you are going to expect people to ride off-road like I do. So the question is, would I sell my motorcycle and buy this one? No. There's nothing here that this bike adds so much that it warrants me changing my motorcycle at this time. But I have to add that if you own the previous version of the bike and you're looking at a new one, you know what, it's not worth it. It really isn't, unless you like the paint scheme and you like a different paint scheme on your bike. it's not such a big leap from where you are to this bike. But if you are one of those people that didn't buy a 310 because you heard bad things about the clutch and the hopping headlight and everything, then I am happy to say that all those issues have been sorted out now. BMW have sorted out this bike completely. The clutch is now fine, the headlight doesn't hop. The only thing they didn't address was, of course, the suspension. For most off-road riding, the suspension is sufficient, but I'm a tall guy, I'm a big guy, and I tend to sag the suspension quite a bit, and then when you do go off-road, there's not a lot of travel left. But overall, this still remains one of those small little bikes that I really want people to get on and ride the thing and be happy, because if you are in a situation where you want to get into adventure riding but you can't afford a 1200 or an 800, man, get yourself a 310. It's just so much fun.